The big question today, who takes Nevada for the conservatives? I'm asking conservative commentator Gina Loudon and liberal commentator Marjorie Clifton. Marjorie, what do you see for tonight?
Well, it's going to be a similar showdown to those that we've been seeing in states past, New Hampshire, Iowa. Trump's still unanimously the lead, and it's really coming down to between Cruz and Rubio, who's going to take the stage. And it's been interesting to see the developments in the Cruz campaign, them firing personnel on their staff for comments about Rubio and trying to really, I think, take a stand about, moral ground and integrity. So that will play well with his evangelical voters and hopefully all voters. But at the same time, I think this is where, again, the establishment Republicans are trying to see, does Rubio have that last gasp? Because as we've seen in the past, any candidate that wins both Nevada, Iowa, and New Hampshire has always been the Republican nominee. And so it's going to be a really important race for momentum. It's also going to be really important, again, to tell the story of Rubio's viability or not.
Well, Gina, what do you make of this? I mean, you look at this, and again, it seems like we're talking who's number two. Number one is a foregone conclusion.
It seems so, Gerri. I think that's right. But I do think there's some interesting things happening. I'm concerned that perhaps the message sent by Ted Cruz's campaign was, hey, if we can't pull it together for a campaign and really what is the campaign of his lifetime, it kind of leaves that question out there. Can they pull it together, for example, to appoint a cabinet as president? So these are some of the questions going through voters' minds. And I'm concerned that perhaps some of the anti-establishment votes that we're going to go to Ted Cruz's campaign, we might see fall into Rubio's camp, and that would give those who are supporting the establishment a little bit of an edge tonight that they may not have had before.
Rubio, Cruz. It seems like that's the only thing we talk about these days, ladies. Marjorie, to you, how critical is this contest, because it's 1 week ahead of Super Tuesday? That's going to be critically important. What role does Nevada play?
Well, it's funny because everything about this election so far has defied both what the polls have said and what pundits have said. And, the race right now, as you said, it looks like it's who's number two. But does number two really matter when it comes down to the general election? And I think what Trump has managed to do is prove everybody wrong in terms of how viable he is in super conservative states and super religious states and, more fiscally focused states. And so, looking like the clear front runner, which is causing most of the Republican Party and issues like, for example, the Supreme Court nominations to start hedging their bets about what does it mean if we lose the election, if Trump does become the nominee and can't win if it's Clinton. So, now it's already sort of the jockeying and the poker playing and or essentially chess playing around what do we do in this current administration if and when the president becomes Trump or Clinton.
Marjorie brings up SCOTUS, what's going on with the Supreme Court nominee. And now we have a group of Republicans out there who are saying, hey, we're going to block anything. Nothing's going to happen. What do you make of that, Gina?
Well, I hope they'll stand strong. It's not something we've traditionally seen the GOP do. I think this would be an excellent time for them to decide to stand strong and also on Gitmo. But I do think it's interesting this time that with Donald Trump, I think that, though I think he's going to absolutely win tonight, I think that the establishment is going to throw everything they've got in an unprecedented way. Let's remember that all of the other candidates who have won the traditional primaries have also been establishment appointees, if you will. They've been the nominee of the establishment. Trump is anything but that. He has vowed to basically do away with the establishment. And I think that changes the complexion of the primaries going forward. I think there'll be a lot more thrown at him than there ever has been at a GOP candidate after he, as we're all presuming he will do, after he wins tonight. But I do think the SCOTUS fight is really important. I'm glad that I've heard Donald Trump now several times say that if he's president, he will definitely appoint someone like a Scalia, like a Judge Clarence Thomas. And so those sorts of things are encouraging to conservatives who've been watching this for a long time and hoping the establishment just sort of could go away.
So following up on what Gina was saying about establishment, anti-establishment, Trump had comments that I think blew so many of us away. Listen to this.
We're not allowed to punch back anymore. I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. He's walking out like big high fives, smiling, laughing. Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Marjorie, what do you make of those comments?
I mean, he never ceases to surprise me, I'll say that. And what he can get away with, that's what's amazing. There was somebody the other day that they were asking, what could he say that would get Trump in trouble? And it seems to be nothing, really. So it was interesting. 10 days ago, Lindsey Graham came out encouraging Republicans to rally around a moderate candidate for Supreme Court justice. And I think, honestly, what a lot of people are concerned about is this may be our only chance. If Trump does, in fact, win the election, even as a Republican, who is he going to put in as the Supreme Court justice? Or if it's Clinton. So why not now, at a time where Obama needs to have a moderate, somebody that everyone can get around, hedge that bet and place that vote instead of prolonging it, and then it could be who knows what.
Well, I brought up the SOT, Gina, because I think this goes to temperament. A lot of people out there are asking the very tough question, does Donald Trump have the temperament to be president? What do you say?
Well, I say that, we've got some great candidates on the GOP side of things, and I kind of enjoy the contrast idea of the Democrats sitting down to watch their candidate, Hillary Clinton, worried that every time she opens her mouth, she's going to tell another lie, and this might be the one where she actually gets caught. And you contrast that with someone like Trump, and the worst fear you have, I think, if you are a Trump supporter out there, is that he's going to tell the truth in an unvarnished way. Mm-hmm. I kind of like that contrast. I don't really have a problem with an over truth teller and a deceiver, and that contrast and how that works out for the GOP.
Well, I would argue that it's unfiltered commentary, but not necessarily truth, because if you look at sort of the facts of most of the things he presents, it's not factually correct. There isn't in substance or policy behind a lot of things he's saying, but it's more unfiltered commentary on what he thinks about people. I think that's a very different thing.
I think you could say some comments are category A and some comments are category B. That's for sure. Ladies, thank you so much for coming on today. Great job, Gina and Marjorie. Thank you.
Thank you.
And fresh.